Hello and welcome to Two Words Wolves Pod. I'm Ryan Eichten, and today I have a special guest, Andrew Dukowitz from Zone Coverage. Andrew, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to fill in for Leo.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for being on. Little introduction for you. What do you got going on, Wolves wise?
Yeah, first year like officially on the beat.
Mm-hmm.
On social, A Duke MN. I cover mostly practices, and then like every other game I'm sitting not next to you in the front row, but up in the bleachers of press rows. This week I put out a piece just kind of trying to figure out why all of the Wolves players and coaches are talking about Ant's increased playmaking when his turnovers are a career high and his assists are a career low. That was a pretty fun one to get to the bottom of. It's over at Zone Coverage. And then this weekend, I have a Jaden McDaniels, kind of a similar piece of just where he's grown as a playmaker. So normally my writing is a little more nerdy, and then my coverage on X
Mm-hmm.
is more like, hey, Mike, what do you think about Rob Dillingham? How does it feel to be
Sure.
like 20 years older than somebody?
Awesome. Yeah, everyone should go check you out on social and on Zone Coverage. It's good stuff over there. But yeah, we'll just hop right into it. Uh, Andrew, your general state of the team now at 2-2. Kind of what were your expectations coming into the year? Did the cat trade affect that at all? And then has the 2-2 start affected what you feel this team is capable of this year?
Yeah, I think before the season started, I kind of anticipated them to be the 2 or 3 seed. I kind of assumed Oklahoma City is going to grow the Caruso edition, the
Yeah.
Hartenstein edition. Figured they'd have the 1 seed locked up. Also, just a lot of young players that probably want something to prove. That's kind of where I thought they'd be. Second or third, record wise, 50 something wins. I think when the cat trade happened, cat trades always trade. But when that happened, I think my initial thought was like, oh, they'll take a little step back. But then once I dug
Mm-hmm.
into it, I kind of figured they'd even out at the same place. I mean, Randall, what you're losing in Cat's shooting, you're gaining in Randall's passing ability. And
Sure.
Dante DiVincenzo is just such a flamethrower for New York last year. It's easy to imagine him adding something. I think if there's one thing, I'm a little disappointed in after the 2-2 start is, unfortunately, gelling is going to take time, right?
Yep.
It's probably going to be 20 to 30 games before we really see this team click. And that's if everyone stays healthy. The Anthony Edwards of it all, at times it's still kind of discouraging just to see his motor shut off at times where, fighting for rebounds. He had that kind of tough ankle sprain, hip injury against
Yeah.
Dallas, and then the energy level just wasn't there anymore. That's kind of been my biggest takeaway so far is after the Olympics, there was all this talk of, oh, I'm going to be like Steph Curry off the ball. I've learned how to ascend and stay focused, and just kind of similar things to last year, which, I mean, that's the biggest nitpick I have on somebody that's
Yeah.
probably going to be an all NBA player. So we're still in good shape. I think we'll get to that 2 or 3 seed still. It's just going to take time. How
Right.
about you?
Yeah. I mean, to touch on what you said quick, you saw the motor issues against Toronto too. No, it didn't end up mattering because it's always weird to like when you're up 20 in the third quarter and then like they clearly let go of the rope, but also like at no point did I think they were going to lose the game. But yeah, like the energy, your focus, I don't know, always goes in and out. But um, yeah, my expectations were pretty similar to yours. That I think their over under preseason was 52 and a half, and I probably would have taken a slight over, but wouldn't have been very confident about it. And I don't bet on sports, but if I was, that would not be a number that I felt like was a like a something to place a wager on. But I think the cat trade, like you said, my original thoughts were like in the regular season, I didn't think it would affect their ceiling or their floor very much. Like it's a like you gain depth, but you lose maybe top end talent. So I was regular season standpoint, I still picked them like Oklahoma City to me is clearly the best regular season team in the West, and it's not close. And through the first week or two of the seasons here, that's played out. They're very very good. And then I projected them regular season to be 2, 3, 4 seed. Dallas, Denver. Memphis, Phoenix, all in kind of that regular season spot. And like you said, I think the gelling was going to take time, and I think we all knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dallas game was kind of like a reminder of that. Like, hey, this is going to take time. Even when I think Randall has played very, very well for the Wolves, and through, especially if you take out that first Lakers game where he was kind of a dud.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to rag on Cat or Ant because they are in the top 20 players in the NBA. But the
Mm-hmm.
breath of fresh air on a Randall drive where he doesn't get an offensive foul because he's throwing his elbows, and then he does that weird little like jump pass to the corner out of the
Yeah,
post where Cat would, I mean, Finch used to call it stray voltage, where Cat
right.
would just kind of whip a pass 30 feet above somebody. Like, it's been a really big breath of fresh air of just like, oh, okay, like he is kind of a ball stopper, but also like he's not going to get 2 offensive fouls a game and he's not going to get turnovers out of the post a game.
Yeah, for sure. Although I've watched a little Cat and Knicks, and it feels like the offensive fouls have lowered, and it's not because he's playing differently. Let's just say, I don't know. We'll let the sample size
New
increase
York
on.
whistle.
Yeah, we'll let the
I'll say
sample
it.
size increase on that. I'm excited like halfway through the season to just look up his offensive fouls per game and being cut in half, and then like nothing's changed other than the location in which he's.
Yep.
But we don't need to rag on the officials all game here,
I
but yeah,
just finished doing that all postseason for the Lynx, so like
right.
we can take a little break.
Yeah, if you're interested in that, Leo and I go find our pod from the day after Game 5. We were not very happy on that one.
The most
Um,
the most proof point thing I can say is Cheryl Reeve didn't get fined by the
did
WNBA or by the team.
really?
No fine.
That is insane. It like
Yep.
is even if
She
she's right.
literally said it was stolen from them and they didn't fine them. So
That honestly,
that's telling to me.
like that's so, yeah, that is so much worse. Fine her like
Yep.
that. Oh wow,
I
that's.
posted like after the game, she's gonna get mega fined after this
I
one.
mean,
And nope,
she.
not even $1. She is off scot free.
I agreed with what largely she said, and I
Yep.
also think she deserved to get fined. Like that's
100%.
your you pay
You
for
can't
it there.
have your longest tenured head coach in the league
Hmm.
popping off like that, but
You also can't.
apparently,
You also can't have a commissioner wearing a skyline of one of the team's dresses, but they let that slide too, I guess.
yep. It was a mess all around, but she didn't get fined, so she's probably right, I guess.
Good for her.
Yep.
All right, let's dive into the Dallas matchup. Wolves lose again to Dallas. They lost to them 3 times at home in the playoffs and another home game. What do you think it is with this Dallas matchup? Is it just, I mean, maybe it's just a sample size of, like I just listed 4 games. Ooh, sample size of 4 isn't necessarily something to bank on, but is this like just a bad matchup for the Wolves, or is this just like Dallas is just good?
I think in the playoffs it was a bad matchup. Like, I think circumstance and matchup both came together, and
Mm-hmm.
like they didn't play their best. They were coming off of Denver. Emotions were high. I mean, all of the players were kind of asked about it in practice before this most recent matchup, and they were all just kind of like, yeah, I mean, if the season was if we were able to like refocus in and do a couple things better, like it would have been a series. Eh, you know, there's some truth to that. I think this most recent matchup was just, unfortunately, Dallas just wanted it way more. Like, they were playing
Yeah.
harder. Gafford and Washington were getting offensive rebounds. The Wolves, unfortunately, like just didn't really show up for the whole game. And I think they match up better now with Randall instead of Cat.
Yeah.
I think in a perfect world, that closing lineup we saw with Nikhil, Ants, Jaden, that kind of solves the Kyrie Luka problem. All 3 of them
Mm-hmm.
can guard those 2, and switching with Randall is a lot more seamless than switching with Cat. Rudy, even though the rap is he's a terrible on-ball defender, he's actually really good, like still good this year, even
Mm-hmm.
another year older. I think it's just a waking up energy problem a lot of times with the Wolves. I think they match up really well against almost anyone in the league. It's just, for some reason, some games they just don't wake up for. And I mean, there's a couple plays in that Dallas game where Like PJ Washington just like blows by every box out defender and gets an
Yeah,
offensive rebound from the wing. And it's just like, that's the difference in that game, unfortunately, is
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
How about
And
you?
when you talk about like the stuff where uh, not having Cat anymore is a breath of fresh air. The rebounding is definitely something where they're missing him.
Yeah.
He was I mean, they had two of the better, whatever number of rebounders in the league playing together. Cat and Rudy are two of the better defensive rebounders in the league. So it helped their rebounding issue. And then because they could rely on those two to grab rebounds, they also kind of, that helped out their transition numbers as well. And now they're kind of searching for it on both of those sides. I just think Dallas is damn good.
Yeah.
And like you said, the circumstances they talked about, something I kind of think has been I'm not going to say under complained about, but like they basically now admitted they were just tired in the Western
Yeah.
Conference Finals. In I think as Wolves fans, I'm surprised more people haven't been like just frustrated to hear that. Like I get it. That's the first time they've ever made it that far, and of course you're tired. Like the Denver series took all of it out of them. But to me, that was like almost an excuse for game one, and to let
Hmm.
it kind of. I mean, if Luka misses one shot, or if the Wolves get an extra point, or if the Jaden McDaniels rule comes a year earlier, they win game two. So
Yep.
maybe it's just they're not as far behind Dallas as I think just the matchups seem. But clearly, I think when you talk about bad matchups, Luka is just a bad matchup for everyone.
Yep.
And not, especially now that they got Kyrie rolling. When they didn't have Kyrie and it was like kind of basically this team with a hurt Kristaps, and that version of the team was just way easier to guard. They would like the Wolves would just stick McDaniels on Luka. They could hide Mike somewhere, and Ant could roam, or they could put like there was just so many more options. But when they have these two Hall of Fame players rolling, it's just impossible to guard them. And Luka's hitting shots from darn near half court. I think the way to beat Dallas is you got to outscore them. And
Yep.
the one thing they've done in the past year or two is they've bulked up that defense. Their two centers they play are great, but you have to attack Kyrie and Luka. And unfortunately, I think the Wolves, because they like to play a free flowing offense, we don't need to get into the free flowing versus structure thing. Um, but I think you need like specific actions to try to attack the Mavericks, and that's kind of what the Celtics did. And the Wolves just kind of don't do it for better or worse.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think with the Mavericks, you do have to outscore them. I think you have to kind of just assume in a playoff game, Luca and Kyrie are going to get 65 points combined. Who knows if it's 45-20 or 32-33, but like that's the starting margin is 65. And then if
Sure.
the other seven guys that play get you 40, like you're in the hundreds already. I think with the Wolves, that was part of the like Dante like thought process of like
Yep.
we need a guy that can just any given night if his three is falling, he can get us 20. I mean, what I'll say is I think the Wolves schematically changed a little bit on how they guarded him. Like they only gave up like two alley-oop dunks on the weak side. Like
Yeah.
that was killing them in the playoffs. I do think like the Luca how they defend Luca, they do a really good job on it, making everything tough.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, Lucas said it after he hit the three. That's what he does. He just rips the heart out of teams. Biggest moments, he's gonna make the shot. You almost need to build a lead that's like a 10 to 15 point lead just because you know he's going to start hitting shots in the fourth. And like right now with how the Wolves are gelled, they can't really do that. They're just not again finished product when they have a 8-9 man rotation that's like actually humming. Maybe they could get a 15-point lead on one of the better teams in the league. I'm honestly really interested to see how they play against Denver tonight, and if
Hmm.
we see kind of the same thing from Denver of they just really can't build a lead, and then late in the game, Jokic makes some plays and it's over.
Yeah, they've been incredibly streaky basically this entire season so far. Where, like the start of the Toronto game, they had two big runs in the Sacramento game, and they had a bunch of good runs in this game. Where, okay, there's the team that we saw last year, where they're they're hounding on defense. They're not letting you get any good shot, and then they're playing good enough offense on the other end, and they're just wearing you down through the course of the game. And
Mm-hmm.
we've seen that for stretches, which I think is like that's inspiring. That like they're going to figure this out, and I do believe that. They're 2-2. It's not like they're playing poorly or anything,
Right.
but I think we're going to get back to that. They'll get to their 50, 55 win pace, whatever it is. But like for the specific Dallas matchup, I agree with you. Like he just hasn't played well in the start of the
No.
regular season, and he was fantastic in the preseason. So we're kind of in this like 4 game. We don't want to overreact to anything too much. And he's had like the Wolves themselves have had moments. He had like a deep three against Toronto. So I
Mm-hmm.
just think they just need to keep getting him shots, keep getting him looks. But yep.
Jaden also, I mean, 18% from three on the season, not really shooting great from the field either. Like
Mm-hmm.
when they're essentially running out a 7-man rotation with 5 minutes of Joe Ingles, and 2 of those 7 are just not playing well. Mike too isn't playing well. So 3 out of
Right.
those 7 are not playing well. Again, 2-2 is fine. At
Yeah.
some point they'll get everyone gelled and humming and it'll be fine. But yeah, tough start.
Yeah. Of like the 3 main things in this Dallas game that hurt them: turnovers, rebounding, and transition defense. Which of those do you feel like is like the biggest worry long term, and which one of those is just like they had a bad game?
Transition defense. That's something that like Cat really bought into. And like
Mm-hmm.
to Cat's credit, like he does buy into that like hustle play type of things. And like when you got a roster with Rudy, who's not going to be on transition defense ever,
Yeah.
he's phenomenal in the half court, but like he is so slow. And like Mike tries his best, but is kind of just like a traffic cone with arms. So like if he
Mm-hmm.
can't foul someone, he's getting scored on. So that means that like your transition defense is Jaden, who's oftentimes crashing from the corner, Ant, who doesn't play transition defense very well, we'll put it that way. And that leaves it up to Randall, who I just don't know. I don't have a big enough sample size because that's not
Mm-hmm.
really how New York plays, where they have crashing from the corner, person underneath. I don't know if Randall's going to buy in as much as Cat. And if Randall doesn't buy
Yeah.
in, I don't see how that problem gets fixed without kind of messing with their whole offense to get Jaden back there to run back. It's just concerning because that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be something that if they don't get Randall to buy in or they don't change their offense, transition defense, especially off of just rebounds, is going to be tough all season. And those are just such easy points and it's so preventable.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I agree. The turnovers don't. I mean, they had 20. They're not like they just had a bad game to me. The rebounding, I think, like as a concern, it's just they're going to be slightly worse than last year, and I think they're just going to live with that. They have the pretty standard at their starting five is like the standard. It's like average size, pretty much across the board. Maybe Rudy is
Mm-hmm.
slightly taller. Randall's bigger, but Randall's like stronger than the average 4, but not taller. Ant, and Mike. That's like they have size, but they don't have like giant size anymore. At least
Yep.
in their starting rotation. So yeah, it's transition defense for me, and I think they can fix. Like 2 years ago, they fixed it by basically being like, "Don't go for the offensive rebounds, just get back."
Mm-hmm.
And they can do that again, and maybe they should for a short amount of games. Just be like, "Hey, we're getting back. We're gonna punt offensive rebounds for a little bit here." And then they can try to work back into crashing a little bit more. But yeah, there's no easy fix other than I think they just it's gotta be attention to detail type of thing where yeah, they're not gonna be a great transition defense team, but like don't be last or whatever they are now. Like just don't completely punt the offensive rebounds, but pick your spots. Don't be crashing and then you're 5 feet behind the play and you're trying to scramble and foul and do all that stuff.
To me, it's just so much about effort. It's just you got to have 2 people that are willing to, if you're going to crash, you got to have 2 people that are going to be willing to every play sprint back, which, like you said, maybe it's we don't crash every play. Maybe it's we just crash on 3-pointers and nothing else. But it'll be interesting to see how, as the season goes on, if Finch has to, like you said, go back to, we're just not offensive rebounding
Mm-hmm.
very much. We're just focused on transition defense until we figure it out. My hope is that we get a similar buy-in from Randall as Cat, where Randall just kind of expects to have to run back there, so it's not just Mike.
Yeah. I think the big ones were the last game were like the kind of the cherry pick ones
Yep.
where they just it wasn't that like there's the type of transition baskets where it's like they're playing 3-on-2 and they have to make swing pass three. Okay, those you give up those
Yep.
stink, but whatever. The ones where it's just like they weren't paying attention, Gafford or Lively slipped behind them for an easy dunk. Those ones are just like those have to go. You can't have more than one of those a game or else
Right.
you're behind the eight ball to start.
And when you're playing a team like Dallas that's already going to score kind of at will most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're giving up like 1-on-0 fast breaks to Kyrie Irving just because he leaks out and no one follows him,
Mm-hmm.
it's just going to be tough.
Yep, I agree. Next topic I got here: the Wolves have started the season with what I'll call an 8.5-man rotation, with Joe Ingles being the half. That has left Rob Dillingham outside of the rotation and left Josh Minott outside of the rotation after, well, Minott had the coaching staff praised him all preseason. And then with Dillingham, obviously they spent draft capital, significant, a swap and a 2031 pick on him. So I guess, do you think that this is the best strategy? Should they, like, your general thoughts about the situation, fully healthy, if they're missing a player, like why aren't Dillingham and Minott playing here?
So, I mean, you see the same stuff I do. So, like, Finch has
Mm-hmm.
been pretty open. He wants to get to like a 9.5 man. So, there's like a probably what, like 18 minutes floating out there that he wants to take from the starters. So, I think part of it is circumstance. Like, Anthony Edwards is playing 40 minutes a game because all of these games are close. The other thing, more my conspiracy theory, is I think Joe Ingles is almost only playing because they want another person that is good with Rudy while they're building in Dante and
Mm-hmm.
Randall. I think 30 games from now, I don't know if Joe Ingles is playing. Like, it kind of seems like he was debating on retiring and then came up here because of Mike and Rudy and Tim Conley. I mean, the other thing is kind of like I said before, 3 out of these 8 guys in the rotation are brand new to the team. I'd rather
Mm-hmm.
have them gel now so Mike can, sit on back to backs and Rudy Gobert can take some days off. And if an injury happens, we already have them gelled. But I really think it's more just Finch wanting these guys to gel and then a product of circumstance. I really hope Rob and Minot get run like
Mm-hmm.
soon. Minot was really impressive in the preseason.
Right.
And then like Rob Dillingham, I've gone to every practice. He is there when I leave after every practice. Like that kid is glued to Pablo Prigioni. They are putting in work. I mean, literally post practice, every single practice. He just really seems to want it. Mike spoke on it yesterday of just, he's just trying to keep Rob sane, telling him his time will come. I really want to see what he can do. And I'll be honest, like this might upset the Dilling hive. I'm not the highest on Rob Dillingham. I think his defense is going to be a problem, and I think being 6'1" and pretty scrawny in the NBA is tough. But like, I really want to just see him out there and hoop. It's
Yeah.
it's tough to watch a guy practice that hard and then sit on the bench.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. My kind of stance on it is that when this team is fully healthy, and especially early on in the year when they're trying to integrate people, there just isn't minutes for them,
Yeah.
and that's because they're 1 through 8. They're I to me they're the best. Like they have as much talent 1 through 8. Their 6 through 8 guys are as good or better than everyone else, and they basically have 8 starting level players. If
Hmm.
you believe Na is that, and he's been their best player basically this season so far this season.
Yep.
So like there's no like Mike's only playing like 24 a game. Like they don't have other than like Ant should be closer to 34 than like 37, 38. But like they don't really have more than like 6 minutes to give the ninth person off the bench. And so when the minutes available are 6, I don't want
What's the
Minot.
point?
I don't want Minott and Dillingham playing there. You're not going to develop on the court that way, so you might as well play the vet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be nights. I'm interested to see if Mike plays down in San Antonio tomorrow on a back-to-back. Is
Yep.
that because to me, if Mike is sitting, is I I'd be curious if that happens. Is it Rob or Minott the first off the bench? Because obviously the natural reaction would be Dillingham point guard for point guard swap, but Finch has said we got a lot of guys that can play point guard. So would they rather play Dante as the starter and play like him and Ant as the quote unquote point guards and kind of cobble together, or would they rather? I don't think they would put Rob in the starting lineup. They'd probably start Dillingham no matter what. But like, are the bench point guard minutes taken up by Rob or someone else? Like, I think once they're going to like, if they don't have an injury all year, that's a fantastic problem. But
Yep.
uh, they're going to miss. Someone's going to roll an ankle and be out two games. They're gonna Minot will play. Like, I think I understand like the consternation about it, where like they spent a lot of draft capital, and I don't want to have this discussion yet, but like if you drafted a guy 8th overall with spending basically 2 picks on him, should that guy be getting DNPs? Basically, no matter what it means for your short term wins, like was that a smart decision? I honestly don't really want to have that conversation yet, but I think people underestimate how rough Rob Dillingham is going to be in the short term. I am a believer in him long term. I think they can like get his defense up to fine enough, and he's shown offensive spurts in the preseason that I like him long term. But like
Mm-hmm.
for this season, he's going to like give up so many points that he's going to cause losses if he's a major part of the rotation. So I maybe that like people are like I'm okay with that, but like for me at least in the short term, I'm not too worried about it.
I'm right there with you. I think short term right now makes a lot of sense. If they have injuries, like that depth is going to be awesome. Like
Mm-hmm.
I really hope Minot gets a chance too. I
Yeah.
mean, he's another guy that just works his butt off, and like he's earned it. He's been on this team. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they kept him over Wendell Moore. Like that says a lot of what their thoughts are on him. You're right though. I mean, minutes to go around, Mike at 20 is tough. I mean, they probably want him to be a little higher than that, but when you have Dante and Naw off the bench, they each want 22.
Mm-hmm.
Ant's not gonna take less than 30. I mean, he shouldn't take less than 30. There's just not a lot of spots. I do think in a perfect world that Joe Ingles spot is Josh Minott and he's getting 12 minutes and that's where
Yeah.
those extra Ant one goes. But then like you're saying, if Dillingham on game 75 is still DNP, I mean, that's a tough 8th overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then where's his development? I mean, again, he's constantly in the gym working, but at some point scoring on Pablo Prigioni probably isn't helping him grow as a player.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I've seen some people say, well, like they can send him down to Iowa, and I'm like, you don't send 8th overall picks down to Iowa. Like,
No.
and I'm not
I
even.
think he'd be cool with it. I don't think it would be a Rob problem of like Rob's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is insulting. But like again, he's gonna be able to drop 40 on people in Iowa. Like, what's that
Yeah.
teaching us?
I think Luca Garza has shown us. Like, I'm not sure Iowa's the greatest. Like, it's good for some players.
Yep.
The development Rob Dillingham needs is honestly better hanging out with Pablo Prigioni than it is with the Iowa Wolves. I kind of think. But I
For like actual NBA players. Like Luca Garza, I think is a backup center. Like if he didn't choose to come back to the Wolves, I think he would be playing like I don't know. I think he'd be playing minutes for like Brooklyn. Like
sure.
he could play backup center on a bad team. I just yeah, to your point, I think for some players going down to Iowa and winning the G League MVP doesn't really do anything for them. It's just like at least they're getting minutes, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
Rob needs to be next to Pablo and Mike. Like they're
Right.
doing the right thing by him.
Right. And Rob's locker Rob's locker is right next to Mike's. That was the not surprising development of the preseason. I think everyone had pegged that as something that would happen. I don't know if you heard Finch's, I think it was pregame against Toronto, where he talked about Nikhil's development and trying to play point guard in the preseason and not working and just getting back to what he does best. And he attributed like the career wise for Nikhil to Mike, like really like showing him like just do what you do best, listen to the coaching staff, all that. I just think that that's going to apply to Rob, and having that vet like right away to start your career, even when you're not playing every night. I like people, you talk about that stuff and sometimes it sounds cliche, like heat culture, I think is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's real to a certain extent and also exaggerated to another extent. But I think keeping Rob and Mike together as long as possible will be the best possible thing for Dillingham.
I think for some players, you're right. It's really overdone. But like with a Mike Conley, like everyone in that locker room would take a bullet for him, and like that says a lot. Jace actually asked Mike about it after practice yesterday, and Mike was like, "Yeah, no, I didn't really have any hand in his development." And then Jace was like, "Well, Chris Finch said you did." And then Mike gave this like super thoughtful answer on like how he encouraged him, and how Nikhil was so like full of anger when he first got to Utah because he had been traded twice and wasn't playing, and how Mike like took him and sat him down and like talked to him. And it's like, yeah, okay, Mike, you didn't have any hand in it.
Yeah, Mike's not going to take any personal fame for himself. It's always someone else, which is
Yep.
good.
Again, why people take a bullet for him.
Yeah. Well, I guess the last point on this is Ingles being kind of that last person in the rotation. We touched on it already a little bit, but like his net rating, again, 4-game net ratings are largely kind of useless, but like he's by far the most negative on the team. I guess like, should they be playing Ingles? Like, is that necessarily to me? Like, it's not great, and I think he's just kind of the productive NBA minutes aren't going to be there for him. But like, if it's 4 to 6 minutes a night, one, I just think you want to give like that small of a role to a veteran, and two, if you're overly complaining about 4 to 6 minutes from one single player, I think you're just kind of overestimating how much one player is affecting things.
Completely agree. I'd rather have him get 6 minutes. He's played with Rudy. He's played with Mike. He's a veteran. He's not going to make like horrendous turnovers on offense. Like if it's 4 minutes, I'd rather have someone that knows kind of the offense and the personnel. I don't think that's his job 2 months from now. I think once the calendar flips over or into February or after the All-Star, at some point he's going to be sitting on the bench next to Dacian Nix, and like Minott or Dillingham's going to have a role. That being said, if Minott comes in and is terrible and Dillingham comes in and it's a train wreck, you still got Joe. So
yeah, for sure. And like, knock on wood, they don't have any injuries anytime, but like they're going to. There's going to be, even if it's not like missing time, it's just like, unavailable tonight, he's sick or he's this or that. Like it's a long ass season. They're going to miss games, and there's going to be that, like the minute that happens, there's going to be a whole rotation spot open up. There's going to be 30 minutes open up, and those will hopefully go to Minott then, or you have 30 minutes, you take Joe Ingles 5, you got 35, and now you can play both Dillingham and Minott like 15. And so you find, I just think I don't think there's been too much pushback on it. Maybe I'm not in the right Twitter circles or whatever, but I think people are cool with it now. But if it's game 25 and we're still looking at DNP CDs for these guys, the anger will grow.
Well, and Mike Conley, I mean, he's one of 2 players on the roster older than I am. Like, my knees hurt every morning. At some point, he's going to have to miss 5-10 games. Rudy Gobert's a 7'3" center in his early mid-30s. I mean, historically, their health doesn't hold up. I know he is like a yoga gym rat, like does everything he can to stay healthy, but at some point he's probably going to miss some games this year too. It's just the reality of having older players in your starting lineup. And like you said, Gobert goes down injured for 15 games, there's 30 minutes for, Nas will probably absorb 15 of them, but they can play
Hmm.
small with Minott. And now he's in the rotation. Mike goes out for a week or two. Rob's probably getting 20 minutes.
Right. And like you said, I can't remember any injury Gobert's had, and he's played 70 games and 76 games. So average of 73. Well, there's there's 9 games right there where Rudy didn't play a year without even an injury. So
Yep.
there'll be time. I think, to me, they're they're playing their best 9 guys. Maybe you want to quibble with Ingles. I think that's fine. But with the minutes that are out there, they're playing their best guys. And at a certain point, that's what they should be doing, is playing their best guys, because they're a title potential team this year. So
Yep.
the biggest change so far this year is the 3-point attempts have gone sky high for the Wolves, and especially for Anthony Edwards. Oh boy. The Wolves are 7th in 3-point attempts this year, 7th, up from 23rd last year. And they've kept the percentage. They're 4th in percentage this year. They were 3rd last year. So, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to jack up their 3-point attempts without sacrificing percentage. That is a very good thing. But what do you think, just kind of on a macro level, the Wolves shooting? I think they've still shot more threes than twos this year. What do you think about that?
I mean, this is the modern NBA. I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
they're joining the club, because last season that was a problem at times where teams were just out shooting them from three. I mean, again, I'm a product of early 2000s, late 90s basketball. So, like, the fact that no one knows how to throw entry passes is frustrating, but this is where the game has evolved to. And would I like to see Edwards drive more still? I have been saying that since 2020. At least he's now hitting his threes at a really good
Mm-hmm.
percentage. I mean, the other thing is, I think macro wise, this might be one of the things that suffers if they can't figure out the offensive rebounding issue, or the transition defense issue. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
bombing away threes leads to that leak out defense where somebody blows by a top of the key one. If they can't figure that out, this might tick down a little bit. But honestly, they have the personnel this season. Randall's a solid
Yeah.
3-point shooter. Nas is great. Dante, Nikhil's shooting at a really good clip. Jaden, we mentioned earlier, 18%, but that's not going to stick forever. Eventually, his are going to go down.
Yeah.
Mike was one of the top 10 3-point percentages last season. Eventually, his is going to start coming in. I think it's a good look for them. And honestly, this kind of seems more like more of the offense Chris Finch would like to run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Anthony Edwards is now kind of making those hockey assists a lot more, where he's not trying to just force a ball between 3 defenders. He's
Right.
taking a lot more of the easy things. So I think in the grand scheme of things, this is probably going to stick for the whole year. And then, like I said, this is probably closer to the flow that Chris Finch is always talking about than what we've seen in years past.
Yeah, I don't think their percentage makes, I don't think it's unsustainable. If you look at individual players, probably like Nikhil is shooting like 60-70%. Obviously that's not going to continue, but for every Nikhil shooting that, Mike and Jaden have shot poorly. So like on the aggregate, I think it's sustainable. If I felt like, I don't know if the percentage they're making is sustainable, because they're getting good attempts. It'd be one thing, except for the lone, like Anthony, like a couple extra man that are frankly necessary, but like they're getting good looks. If they were like shooting a ton of crappy movement threes, like then it'd be like, okay, let's take a look at this. But they're getting good looks, and they're still like, they're not taking a bunch of mid range shots. Like if these 3-point attempts were coming from, like, they're sacrificing the rim, then it'd be like we're sacrificing points here. But I just think like they're taking the mid range shots away, and they're adding mostly threes from that. I think for a lot of us, what's not surprising is that this still happened without Cat, where it, the increase in three was going to happen trade regardless. So it's not they're not increasing their chance because Cat is gone, but it's not surprising to any of us that they were still able to increase their 3-point attempts without Cat, because for whatever reason, and it's kind of continued into his early career with the Knicks, he just is not a volume 3-point shooter for whatever reason. And even like Randall's shaky shot, although it's been going in this year, he shoots like a similar number of attempts to Cat. So
I
I
think
think,
they both averaged 8.3 last
yeah,
year. The only difference was Cat shot 10% better.
right.
Like, that's why you got Dante, though.
Yep.
I agree with you. I think it's completely sustainable. I do have a question. Do you think Anthony Edwards is getting the LeBron? So like LeBron has that thing where he like looks down at the 3 point
Yeah.
line to his right and then just kind of like pulls up real quick, and he does it like 6 times a game. Ant does
Hmm.
that like double between the leg fake to the right and then step back like what, 7 out of his 11 3 point shots.
Hmm.
At some point, like someone has to just, oh, he's doing the between the legs, I guess I'll just walk over here and block it.
Yeah, I'd like to think if that adjustment comes, then Ant would just take another dribble and go right by him.
I hope so.
Um, and yeah, I think that transitions nicely into like talking about Ant's 3 point shooting, where he's leading the league in 3 point attempts, which is
Yeah.
insane for a guy that also would lead the league in highlight dunks. But we can do the Anthony Edwards' amazing show. I'd love to do that show. And I just remember early on in his rookie year when he would take a lot of threes, that'd be every single one he put up would be like get to the rim, get to the rim, get to the rim. And it didn't take very long where I stopped doing that because they were just going in, and
Hmm.
his percentages have gone up every year. And now he's shooting 41.5%. Now I don't think that'll last because if anyone's taking some bad threes, it's him. But I really like this 3 point volume on him. It's a bit too high. 13.3, I think, is a bit obscene. So maybe closer to 10 or 11. Take away some of those step back threes. But like I kind of said with the team at large, where these threes are coming from aren't just all his rim shots. It's a mix of like coming from the rim and coming from mid range. So if we can take like go down to 10 or 11 threes, put those as drives, I think that we're close to like the ideal shot mix for him.
13 is a lot of threes for anyone. Like, even if Dante was launching up 13 threes, I'd probably be like, okay, this is a lot. This is a lot to take in right now. I think if he's at 9 or 10 and those 4 threes that are dribble, dribble, step back, or, you know, him on a fast break with 19 seconds on the shot clock, ripping a three and clanging, like if those two things get eliminated, I think like that's the better version of him. But that being said, Ant kind of takes me as a player that the regular season doesn't necessarily matter to him as much. I mean, we see it
Mm-hmm.
with like, Magic and Bird would famously like play left-handed in the 80s. Jordan would, you know, play an entire half not taking a shot. Like this level of player just kind of like mess around. So I wonder if some of this is just like Ant going like, I'm going to see how many threes I can take. Like 14, sure.
Yeah.
Let's see how many goes in. And again, he's making them at 40%. So if he continues that and we're sitting here at Christmas going, he's taking 14 threes a game and he's hitting them at 40%, then like he's right and we're all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's about as good as you can get. I agree with you, though. I think at some point, some of these are going to start missing. I mean, he's made some tough hand in his face
Yeah.
threes. I think what's been cool with him, cool might be the wrong word, but like what I find cool with him is he's been getting more of those like corner threes where he doesn't have
Yeah.
to like sidestep, dribble twice before making them. He's just able to like catch and shoot in rhythm. And if that's something he's worked on all summer and he's now a like catch and shoot in rhythm shooter, that's going to do wonders for this team because he was not a good just catch and shoot objective 3 point shooter last year.
Yeah. The shot does look improved and more like consistent than it did last year. So I think that's a big thing, especially like the catch and shoot shots, which he I remember from the media day. Was asked like, "What did you work on?" He's like, "My catch and shoot tray ball." It's like, okay, that's nice.
Yep.
Um, and he's just getting way more. I should have looked up like what his catch and shoot rate is. I gotta imagine it's like way higher this year than it was last year. Um, and him and Randall both like if you think about Randall and Cat spot, like the number of corner threes they're getting from their shooting guard and their power forward this year is incredibly higher than it was last year, where it was basically nil last year.
I can't remember who said it, but someone was on a pot. It might have been Dane, which if it was Dane, he's always awesome with picking this stuff out. But like Cat seems to, when he shoots threes, only take the ones that he thinks he has a high percentage of making. So like he's not going to shoot a super contested three. He's going to pass out of it. He's not going to try and do a step back.
Hmm.
He's going to pass out of it. Randall seems really willing to just let it fly, and Nas
Yeah,
seems really willing to just let it fly, which I think that does open up certain things for your offense where, you know, I'm sure on opposing scouting reports it's, hey, crash Carl hard on 3-pointers, and a couple of them he's just not going to take because you're running at him. Whereas Randall and Reed just kind of bomb it away regardless. So
right.
I think offensively, just having their ability to shoot at a high volume and not care if they make or miss it is going to
Hmm.
help this too.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because with Randall, you'd wish he had Cat's mindset a little bit more. Now he shot great, so it hasn't applied this year, but like would kind of like Randall to only shoot the ones where he feels like he has a high percentage of making, and would want Cat to just start bombing away. Oh, God, it would be so glorious if Cat would have just shot 13 threes a game like Annis right now. Oh,
I mean, how
or
many?
maybe,
It's so bizarre that we sit there and we're like, I wish Ant would drive more and I wish Cat would shoot more threes. And those are like
yeah,
arguably their best attributes.
yeah,
They're-
yeah.
Sports
I, I've,
psychology is crazy.
I've kind of, I think all of us kind of gave up on the Cat shooting more threes
Yeah.
thing. Just we've all been asking for it for. I mean, I think we all could have seen like a one attempt more or whatever, but like, well, maybe this offensive explosion would have changed things. Maybe not his shot selection, but he would have gotten more catch and shoot opportunities. Who knows?
I
We're moving on.
I went back 20 years in NBA real quick on Basketball Reference. And
Hmm.
20 years ago, so '06, or excuse me, we'll go exactly 20 years ago. So '04-'05 season. Anthony Edwards would have ranked by himself in 3-point attempts. That's how much the game has changed. Ant
Yeah.
alone would have ranked 18th in 3-point attempts per game. So, I mean, again, if he's making them at 40%, bomb away.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Last topic here. I've got the Denver game tonight. Biggest thing to me is like how they guard Jokic without Cat now. Do they go with Randall on him and Rudy lurking, which is the setup they had last year, or do they feel like without Cat that strategy doesn't work as well, and they just kind of play it straight up with Randall on Gordon and Rudy on Jokic? What do you think is their optimal strategy?
I mean, we've seen Rudy on Jokic, and it's usually bad. So I think they almost have to do their normal, like Randall covers Jokic. I think Nas is going to get quite a bit of run in this game. I don't know if they're going to have Nas play center and then Randall lurk or what their plan is, but like Rudy on Jokic just historically has been not great. So I would be
Yeah,
surprised if they gave that a whirl at this point. Also, like the Nuggets just kind of look out of sorts. So I'm kind of interested to see just how this matchup looks.
yeah. I'm interested to watch Denver in person because their first four games have been really, really bad. I mean,
Yeah.
they've won their last two, but they've been very uninspiring wins against Toronto and Brooklyn, probably two of the worst teams in the East in the league entirely. I'm just, I don't know what is going on because I think losing KCP and like the Westbrook stuff, like I think it's not surprising. Maybe they took a step back, but like they shouldn't be like this. I don't know. Maybe Westbrook is just cooked. I was confused in the offseason when kind of the Nuggets fans were building up Dario Saric as like someone that was going to play a gigantic role, which as like your ninth man, like Ingles is here, is completely fine, solid player enough. But like I was very surprised. Like, what do you mean we lost KCP? We got Saric. And it wasn't exactly like that, but like
They're
I just
they're
think there's
2-2, and Jokic is 31.5 points, 12.3 rebounds, 9.3 assists, shooting 57% from the field, 55% from three on 5 a game. And they are 2 and
yeah,
2.
yeah. I mean, if they finish in the
I
top
don't know what to
four,
say.
if they finish in the top four, I know voters aren't going to like it. Jokic should be the MVP again. Like
Yep,
I,
he should
I,
be.
you never wish injury on a player, but I'm morbidly curious what the Nuggets would look like if Jokic just like simply missed a week with a tweaked ankle. Would they be like the worst team in the league? That sounds
I
insane,
think
but like
I think
it.
they would. Like nothing on their team is like inspiring. Like Michael Porter Jr.'s, I mean, this is what, year 5 for him? 6? He's the same player he was, just a shooting bad defender. Jamal Murray
Mhm.
is not, I don't know what happened with
We'll
him. Like he's
we'll see if
not
we
playing
can.
great.
We'll see if the Wolves can limit him from throwing objects onto the court because his current counter to I I
Still
will never
cannot
get
believe
over.
he wasn't suspended.
They need a rule. Like I kind of get not suspending him for the playoffs because like they business wise that's bad.
Yep.
Put in a rule. Put in a rule that there's like that should be a 5 game regular season suspend. Like suspend him. Like he shouldn't be playing this game tonight. He should have been suspended for whatever. Like he threw multiple. And the
If
biggest
that
thing
was
from the
Zeke
NBA.
Naji, do you think he would play again in the playoffs?
No,
Like if it was Zeke
you're
Naji
just
throwing heating pads, like he'd be suspended for the playoffs. He wouldn't be traveling with the
no
teams. It would be
right.
like,
And it's not.
sorry, Zeke, you're out.
It's it's not a like a Denver thing. Like if you could say that you'd say the same Ant versus Luka Garza is the same
Yep.
conundrum. But like he threw multiple objects onto the court and at an official. And that was the thing that bothered me about the NBA. Clearly, like coping up for it, where they said like, well, if he threw it at an official, it would have been a suspension. What? Who was he throwing it at then? If it wasn't an official, who was he throwing it at then? Because the other option is Cat playing basketball.
Which is, I would argue, worse. I still don't understand it, and I never will. I will never understand why he got to play the next game. Like, there are
I
just
understand
certain
it.
things. Well, yeah, the business side of
The
it, I look
explanation
at.
is terrible.
Yeah,
They didn't want to
that's the thing,
suspend
is
someone
like
for
the
big playoff
explanation
games.
is, gosh,
And
Jamal Murray. Dario Saric is just for funsies, 9.8 minutes a game, so more than Joe Ingles. 22% from the field, has not made a 3 yet.
not great.
That's tough.
Small
That's tough.
small
That's
sample
tough.
size. Yeah, but
I heard that too, of like, we're bringing in Dario Saric, and I was like, I mean, he's a fun energy guy, but like that's kind of
it
it.
was just the framing of it. Like Dario Saric is gonna fit well with the starters. It's like if they would have just said, "Oh, we got Saric, ninth man, good signing," I'd be like, "Sure, great." But I think this is the
It's
first time the Nuggets are back in Target Center
yep.
since the chicken dance incident, I will call it. Wolves were up 50. Luka Garza hits a layup with the chicken dance playing, up 50 in the Western Conference Finals. That is still the chicken dance thing will forever. Like I think that was just their thing when the Chick-fil-A promotion hits,
Mhm.
they play the chicken dance. But to do it, I do wonder if they were losing or if that game was close. There's no way they played chicken dance. The only reason because the game was over basically at that point.
There's no way they they owe the chicken dance producer royalties for like having to play it. Like that's not a contract thing. I will say, like, if anyone out there listening ever wonders if we're in a simulation, like a computer couldn't make that up. Like up 50 home playoff game, we're rocking out to the chicken dance after we get some free Chick-fil-A.
Whew, it's a good thing they wanted the Wolves won Game 7 because
Yeah.
if uh if the last win of their season came with the chicken dance playing and if Denver just holds on to their 20-point Game 7 lead, I think that gets kind of thrown back in the Wolves' face a bit more. But
Little bit. Little bit.
awesome. Well, that's where we're going to wrap up. Thank you, Andrew, so much for coming on. Check out his work on Twitter and on Zone Coverage as well. We'll both be at the game tonight, so check out both of our stuff there. Andrew, anything else you got?
That's all I got. Ryan, you're awesome. I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week, early next week with Leah.